let's see what Carol Roth thinks about it. Let's see what consumers are doing. It is a new year after all. So joining me now, our friend who needs no more intro on this show, recovering investment banker, author of the book, The War on Small Business, my friend Carol Roth. All right, Carol, we just had Christmas. We just had the New Year's, just had Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and every other holiday they mix in there. Did we spend any money in this country?
We did. We love to consume in this country. As you mentioned, our economy is about 70% consumer based. So what the consumer does has a big impact on the overall economy. We just came out of the retail sales season for all of those holidays that you mentioned. And I think the technical financial term for how we did is meh. MEH, meh. So basically, retail sales increased about 7.6%, which is a little bit less than last year. The challenge is, as you can imagine, those numbers are not adjusted for inflation. So that means that the consumer had to spend more, but the actual inflation adjusted impact on the economy was about exactly even since last year. The big challenge, Jesse, is how the consumer is financing all of this. And they're basically financing this by killing their own wealth. We had savings for consumers, personal savings, that peaked in about September of 2021 at about 2.3 trillion. That has come down by the third quarter. So before the holiday season, third quarter of 2022 was about 1.5 trillion. And if you ask the heads of the big banks, it gets worse. If you ask the heads of the big banks and the economists when that's all going to run out, that is going to be the middle of this year. So it means that people are saving less. They're putting more on their credit cards. Credit card debt is nearing $1 trillion. And because people have jobs and because they have this wealth effect, because their housing prices have generally increased over time, it means that the consumers are dipping into their own wealth to finance keeping the economy afloat, which really takes us down the path of you owning nothing.
Okay, well, this is all this is very scary, and we have a lot to unpack here. I want to focus on something a little bit different first along these same lines. Okay, Carol, so this is what I take from that. When I hear you tell me people are draining their savings, people are putting all the money on the credit card, what I hear is people are worth less because of inflation, yet they're trying to maintain the same standard of living they had before with their dollar going, a lot shorter distance than it was before. Do I have that about right?
You do, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is because the job market is still robust. We have the supply-demand imbalance in the jobs market. So more people have jobs and their wages are increasing, although it's not keeping pace with inflation. But if people aren't seeing, I'm getting laid off and I'm not going to have a job, they feel more empowered to spend. And then because their housing values have increased, they figure, maybe I can take a home equity line of credit, or maybe, I have more wealth than I think that I do. And then they're going in and they're dipping in and they're taking on more debt. So they really are killing that personal wealth, like you say, to keep up with the Joneses or the Kardashians or the Fed or the government or whoever the heck it is that they're keeping up with. But it is all on their backs. And they're feeling like they're going to be okay, but really their net worth is going down substantially. And as I said, you're going to end up owning nothing.
Just as a quick side note, sorry, Carol, I just have to get this out there. It feels like an appropriate time to tell people. I had a little talk with the guy I invest with today, everybody, and we had a little bit of money set aside after Christmas. We wanted to invest, as we try to do in our house. Yeah. And we could have picked a savings account or we could have picked the market. And I said, it's up to you. What do you think? And he said, let's stick with the savings account for a few months. So just a heads up, everybody, that's the finance advice I'm getting from somebody who knows. Anyway, Carol, all right. People are really taking out home equity loans, Carol?
Yeah, so we're starting to see things like that. As we said, with the credit card debt, we're approaching $1 trillion in credit card debt. And then we were going to start to see more people dipping into their home equity that they have, kind of a repeat of some of the bad behaviors of the past, because the home prices have been inflated so much by all the money printing, by all the Fed intervention, by bad government policy. So they feel like, okay, well, this is wealth that I've earned and I can use it. But again, then you're not building wealth. You're taking that money and you're spending it, and then it's gonzo. And there's no guarantee that the housing prices are going to continue to move in the same direction.
Carol, what should people be doing with their money? Because look, it is a difficult thing to go through at a period of time in your life where your standard of living is going down. I've actually been there before. I've been out of work, and it sucks. No, we're not going to Red Lobster this Friday. Actually, we're having Kraft Mac again. It is difficult, but what should you do?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your personal sacrifice. I know how much Red Lobster means to you, but what a good example you're setting for everybody by willing to have an austere life. And I think that's the reality here. Do not take on more debt. Cut your expenses. Do not dip into the areas where you have built up wealth and equity. Continue to make investments, particularly in places where you can get some sort of extra bonus for it. Like if you have a 401k matching plan from your employer, definitely max that out, even though the market is going to be choppy for some period of time. If you have your employer matching that, that's going to be a good benefit for you. So you need to be doing those things. And also really be thinking, especially, Jesse, on the trajectory that we've talked about for a while, what's happening with the money printing and this country, investing in hard assets, whether that may be some land that has a productive use, maybe some precious metals like gold, things that actually have tangible value that you own, that you can use as a hedge. It doesn't have to be your whole portfolio. It can be 5 or 10%. Talk to a financial advisor to see what makes sense for your risk objectives. But have some of these hard assets as a hedge, because as we know, there is no fiscal responsibility in this country. It is not going to change anytime soon. And you want to make sure that you've got some preparation for that. So it's about the austerity. It's, investing, overspending, and it's about creating some hedges.
Okay, I think you said one thing positive so far, Carol, about housing values, home values. Home values are up.
Yeah, so even though it may seem with these crazy mortgages, mortgage rates, but we've had a huge supply-demand imbalance in housing as well. There was an overbuilding going up into the Great Recession financial crisis, but what happened is after that, they stopped building homes because there was so much supply in the market at that point in time. So the estimates are that we're underbuilt by probably 4 to 5 million units. So between that and all of these corporate buyers who've been flush with cash, who've been coming in and competing with you as an individual to buy a house, there's a little bit of a floor in terms of the pricing. So right now, in order for us to be like in that same place where we were during the Great Recession financial crisis with millions of homes underwater, housing values would have to come down 40 to 45% from where they are now. So that is giving people, again, this feeling that, oh, we're doing well and I've got a lot of room. But again, that's your wealth that you've created, and it may come down some. So don't burn that on, spending on a family trip or something else. Just lock it down for a little while. We are like 99% going to have some sort of a recession or a continued stagflationary period where prices eventually will come down. Wait it out and do not wreck your wealth. We want you to be wealthy in 2023 and beyond.
We haven't done a segment on the media in a while in this country. And it's probably something we should mix in even more. I know we rip on them a lot, but we should always keep in mind the media is the one that's primarily responsible for the fact that your neighbor lives in a world of make-believe. Your crazy Aunt Kathy on Facebook, she lives in a world entirely of make-believe. They live in a world of make-believe because we have a media in this country that isn't biased. All right, they're not left-leaning. little liberal. The media is hostile. They are truly the enemy of the people. Credit to Trump for calling them that early and often, because that is what they are. They are the enemy of the United States of America, and they wake up every single day and they prove it over and over and over and over again. You do remember how often we've talked about stochastic terrorism, right? And what that is. Stochastic terrorism is basically laying out all the necessary things for a horrible event to happen. And so you know one's going to happen. You just can't predict what that will be, but you do it on purpose. This is what you do to your political opponents. Hey, look at those guys. All the short people, they're evil. It's short people who are responsible for your problems. Short people suck. And then a week later, some nutball decides to hurt a short person. And then you get to wash your hands of it, right? Hey, I never said to do anything like that. The media in this country has done this over and over and over again with Republicans, as Republican elected officials and normal people on the ground have been assaulted and murdered by the communist street scum in this country. And in case you're wondering, the media has not taken even a brief moment to reflect on all this. Why? Because they want it to happen. They're still calling Steve Scalise a KKK guy?
That's why I think Scalise is probably the most likely candidate.
David Duke without the baggage. Longtime political reporter claims that when she first met Scalise, when David Duke was a state representative, Scalise, who's from Louisiana as well, told her, I was like David Duke without the baggage. Roll call, the interview. Scalise claimed in 1999 that he embraced many of the same conservative views as David Duke, but is more viable. Scalise appeared at a white supremacist event led by a group founded by David Duke. Chip Roy, who gave a speech today, gave a lovely speech for McCarthy. That's the guy who endorsed lynchings in Texas. The bench is rotten.
You hear that and maybe you get mad. Maybe you roll your eyes. Maybe you think, oh, brother, here we go again with this. And you should. All those things are fine. It's not like you're doing anything wrong. But you should keep in mind the vile street scum that is the communist base of this country, the Antifas, the BLMs, the climate change nutters. We're talking lifetime losers with no parents or bad parents, nothing to live for, oftentimes a criminal record, drugged out, alcoholed out. They hear things like this and they take them as a call to action. You're a lifetime communist loser with no purpose in life. And the media tells you time after time after time that you can go take care of the KKK. Now, in your mind, you've been given a mission. You've been given a purpose. And that is why they lash out time after time after time. And that is why they do the things they do. Do you ever deal with baseball at all? Baseball pitching specifically. I have a friend, I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but I have a friend who works with pitchers, namely older pitchers, professional pitchers. And I've talked to this guy several times. And one of the things he's told me over and over and over again, he said, Jesse, one of the hardest things I have to deal with is a pitcher who's used to throwing gas. That means fastballs, ladies. Fastballs. Throws really hard. He throws it really hard, really fast. And that's what he's done his whole life. In high school, he threw gas. In college, if he went, he threw gas. In the minors, he threw gas. In the pros, he's thrown gas. He's throwing 98-mile-an-hour fastballs right by people. And that's what he's done for 20 years. That's what he knows. And then he hits 37, 39, whatever, pick the age. Everyone's arm ages differently, but he hits a point, and 98 becomes 97. And it's 96. And it's 95, and instead of striking out 10 batters a game, he's given up 10 runs a game and having to sit, he tells me he's having to sit that pitcher down and explain to that pitcher, buddy, the gas is gone. You need to start throwing curveballs again. You need to start throwing changeups, start throwing sliders. Doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean you're not a pro. Doesn't mean you need to get out of the league. It means the gas is gone. Donald Trump's gas is gone. And hold on, before you scream, throw your MAGA hat at the TV and walk away. Let me explain something. Trump has chosen to, for better or worse, get involved in this speaker race. He came out very publicly and he said, hey, let's get Kevin elected. It's time to let's go. He went all in for McCarthy. Not only did he go all in for McCarthy, he apparently organized a meeting trying to get the deal done for McCarthy. So Trump throws in his lot with McCarthy, goes all in. Now, 2016, 2017, 18, even 19, I would argue, if Donald Trump came out and told Republicans, vote for McCarthy, it's over. It's already done. Donald Trump had that kind of gas back then. That was 98 mile per hour fastball Donald Trump. Donald Trump ruled the Republican Party. If you had his favor, you did quite well. If you had his ire, you were basically finished. We could take all hour on the show tonight to list all the useless rhino Republicans whose career Donald Trump ended. So he simply blasted them, ended. They got primaried or retired before they got primaried. Just Donald Trump, if he hated you, it was the kiss of death. You were already done. Grim Reaper, come round him up. That Donald Trump is gone. The Donald Trump we have now, for a lot of different reasons, some his fault, some very much not his fault, he doesn't have that kind of juice anymore. He's going to have to go with different tactics. And you know how you know? Donald Trump's biggest supporters are now not just defying him, they're okay with very publicly defying him. Matt Gaetz nominated Donald Trump to be Speaker today, so we're not going to get into that lunacy. But he also came out when Trump was pushing for McCarthy and said, quote, supporting McCarthy is the worst human resources decision President Trump has ever made. Sad. Oh, man, he even got a little sassy. Lauren Boebert, as you know, the Jesse Kelly Show's bipartisan hottest women of Congress list champion, current champion. We have another list coming out in the next coming months, so we'll see if she regains her title. But she also is a friend of mine. And not only is she a friend of mine, she's a hardcore Trump person. We're talking the MAGA hat, the works, the Trump endorsement on the website, love Trump, love Trump. She is a Trump person. Lauren Boebert went on the House floor and said this.
Let's stop with the campaign smears and tactics to get people to turn against us. Even having my favorite president call us and tell us we need to knock this off. I think it actually needs to be reversed. The president needs to tell Kevin McCarthy that, sir, you do not have the votes and it's time to withdraw. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Man. Now, you can think whatever you want about that House speech. It shows that the fastball is gone. The days of Donald Trump saying and everyone else doing are gone. Now, what does that mean for Trump politically? It doesn't mean that Trump is done. Maybe you love Trump and you're sitting there sad right now. Jesse, don't say it's over. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying that at all. And you Trump haters, don't celebrate. Yeah, you're right. He's finished, Jesse. He's not done. But here's what it most definitely does mean. He is going to have to, it's not an option anymore. He's going to have to change some of his tactics. Not change who he is who he is. He's going to have to change some of his tactics because he most definitely is done if he does what so many of those pitchers do. My buddy told me about him and says, no, I still got it. And he goes out there and just tries to keep throwing the gas that ain't there anymore. He's done. He's finished. He doesn't have that kind of political juice. He is going to have to go from a man who says go and everyone goes to being a coalition builder again. He can regain that kind of a juice, but he is going to have to change and bring that coalition back together again. It's not that he's lost everyone's support. That's ridiculous. Ignore any idiot who tells you that. But he has lost support, and not an insignificant amount of support. So he's got work to do. Doesn't mean he's finished. It means the fastball can still be there. It's not your number one pitch anymore. And you can't just go out there and throw it the whole game. That's what it means. The truth is, for a lot of reasons, he's been wounded politically, and he needs to heal, and he needs the coalition build. And look, we need him to heal. I don't care if you're a Trump hater. That's fine. Because he might be the nominee. If the primary was held today, he would be the nominee. Because he might be the nominee, we need Trump to heal. Because if the election is in 2024 is between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, whoo, boy, do we need Donald Trump to win that race, and we need it badly. I'm not talking about for your feelings or to be offensive or less offensive. I'm not talking about any of these things. I'm talking about for your pocketbook. We're in some trouble. We've got 2/3 of economists and large financial institutions making some dire predictions about 2023. Now, anyone who watches I'm Right on a regular basis already knows that. I've been telling you what's coming. I've been telling you why it's coming. But hey, even Cardi B's catching up now.
You're going to go broke soon because y'all not budgeting. I get a summary of the money that's being spent in my home every week. So when I'm starting to see that like groceries is like tripling up, it's like, hey, yo, what the is going on? And like when I go to the supermarket, like I went to a supermarket, I'm seeing that everything tripled up. That like lettuce was like $2 a couple of months ago, and now it's like $7. Of course, I'm gonna say something.
Okay, not exactly how I would put it per se, but you get the idea. Groceries are expensive, and we're in real trouble because the Biden administration is still rolling out Corinne Diversity hire to tell you how great everything is.
We've made significant progress in lowering the prices, gas prices specifically. Prices are down nearly $2 per gallon and are lower today than they were 1 year ago today, this very day.
Once these refineries come back online, do you expect the gas prices to come back down? And the price of gas when the president came into office was $2.39 a gallon.
I know, but I'm talking about 1 year ago, and that was 1 year ago was not when he came into office, right? So.
Oh, no. I wasn't talking about when Trump was in office, just a year ago when we screwed everything up even worse. Look, this is not news to you. According to Gas Buddy, average American expected to pay $2,500 now annually in gas. Average American was paying $1,300 in gas when Donald Trump was president of the United States of America. What does that mean? It means simply not that gas is more expensive. We already know that. It means that you are watching in real time your standard of living go down. And there are all these indicators out there. I've been trying to point these out to you for the last year about why I think something really ugly economically is coming. Because there is indicator after indicator after indicator that something is not right and we're out of whack and it's just not working. Auto sales is a great way to track it. Auto sales dropped by 8% in 2021. Now, 8% it's a weird thing because you see 8%. And it doesn't seem like that big of a number, right? It's 8%, it's not even 10%, it's not 50%. You should understand that in the business world, and you people in the business world will understand this. In the business world, if at the end of the year you're down 8%, people are getting fired. There is going to be a DEFCON 3 situation going on at your company if sales are down 8%. Well, nationally, sales are down 8%. It's a really big deal. And so people are out there still trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's really hurting them. Carol Roth elaborated on that earlier.
The big challenge, Jesse, is how the consumer is financing all of this. And they're basically financing this by killing their own wealth. We had savings for consumers, personal savings, that peaked in about September of 2021 at about $2.3 trillion. That has come down by the third quarter, so before the holiday season, third quarter of 2022 was about $1.5 trillion. And if you ask the heads of the big banks, it gets worse. If you ask the heads of the big banks and the economists when that's all going to run out, that is going to be the middle of this year. So it means that people are saving less. They're putting more on their credit cards. Credit card debt is nearing $1 trillion. And because people have jobs and because they have this wealth effect, because their housing prices have generally increased over time, it means that the consumers are dipping into their own wealth to finance keeping the economy afloat, which really takes us down the path of you owning nothing.
Sorry. I want you to be ready.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, The History of FBI Scandals, and America's Worst Presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.